Welcome, everybody, to the Celtics Double Take podcast. Dylan McCaffrey and James Kwan here again today. The Boston Celtics are 35-31. We've been winning. We've been losing. It's been an interesting week. Jason Tatum's been going off. It's been up and down, but we're above 500, and I dare say that Tatum is shaking off the COVID scaries.
I feel like he's just kind of like himself, like what he was like late in last year. Before the injury and stuff. And that's good to see. I'm not going to call my shot too early because I feel like he's due for a 3 for 17 game. But hey, if you want to choose a high, I mean, he's definitely been sensational.
Yeah, is that your best of the week, you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, another good is that we both graduated. I think that's worth noted that we graduated at Fenway Park. It was a beautiful day. So recently graduated podcasters, I feel like that sounds worse. But anyways, I feel like it's got to be Tatum. I think that Tatum pulling us out of that Spurs game. I mean, that's a moment. That's definitely a moment that you're going to remember for a very long time. It's just like seeing that game, like you said, you can see that game 35 down and just say like, all right, this is just like, I'm going to turn off the game. It's definitely a terrible loss. And then the next moment you realize that we're back in it. And who else but Tatum, with his first 60 piece, correct? I mean, it has to.
Yeah, I mean that's his ties the Celtics record with Larry Bird. He's now among the greatest of our team's history. Crazy game. Before we get into it, do you have a worst for this week?
I mean, obviously the Thunder game comes up.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just gonna say, man, I think it's the slander that has come our way. Because of the season, listen, it's understandable. We've had an up and down season. We continue to be up and down, but to put us like, listen, the playoffs are a whole different story. Experience means a lot more. I still think that we have as much of a shot as these other kind of second tier Eastern Conference teams. People saying like the Hawks and Knicks have better chances than us in the postseason. Give me a break. Give me an absolute break. Like, come on. This is playoff basketball. They have no experience. We have been to the Eastern Conference Finals the past 3 years. And that's going to show.
Yeah, we definitely are no longer inexperienced. I think you can officially say that. Like, we're making deep runs every year. These guys maybe 24 and 25, but they've every year of their career have been trying to win a finals.
Yeah.
Tatum in that Spurs game, I'll just jump into that because that was, I mean, probably the best game of the year. It's got to be. We were down by 30 points. So this weekend we graduated college. My friends from Los Angeles traveled back to Boston. So I watched the first half of that game with my old roommate, and it was embarrassing. It was like, wow, what a reunion. We get back together, and this is just what we get treated to. Is just one of the worst games of the season. It's like, it makes sense. It's the Spurs. They just figure us out. Like, we're a team that just goes ISO, and they're just so disciplined and such team basketball. This is the exact team you'd expect to beat us. So we stopped watching at halftime. We go have some celebratory drinks for a job well done, graduating college. We walk into the Beantown Pub in downtown Boston.
Great place, by the way.
There's 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and the game is tied. Could not believe it. What the hell happened in this second half? What happened is that Jason Tatum had the best game of his career, had the best game of any Celtics player other than Larry Bird ever. And that's what it would have taken to bring us back from down 30 points, because Jaylen Brown said it himself, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And we've been saying all year it's not sustainable if it's just like Tatum and Brown taking ISO shots, but it'll be sustainable if Tatum can just drop 40 every game.
Yeah, I mean, this is when you think about like Tatum still to this day for his whole career has had a bit of traffic in his way, kind of like to this transcendent, you give the ball to him, high usage rate. He's always been playing with stars. And these are the moments when you realize, like, if this guy was playing for like the Bulls, well, I guess they have Levine, but a lower tier team, I mean, this would be a much more commonplace thing. This is him scoring 60 with 2-3 other all-stars on the roster. This isn't just like, oh, like this guy is just gonna, who else are they going to give the ball to? I mean, he's on a team with other great players. So you have to put that into account and say that this is like just an amazing 60-point game. I think a lot of Celtics fans are probably holding their breath, seeing if Larry Bird was going to be bested by Tatum, which I think would be mixed feelings for a lot. But you're exactly right. It's the only way we're going to beat the Spurs in this game. Exactly the kind of team we'd lose to. I've actually witnessed a Spurs blowout in TD Garden one of the very few Celtics games I've gone to in the past couple of years. But hey, a guy chucked a beer all the way from the top rafters onto the court when Kemba got ejected. I feel like that's the most Boston thing, getting blown up by the Spurs and seeing that.
Definitely. And the Spurs game came after like two games, which we came off the embarrassing Hornets loss and played the Thunder and then the Hornets again. The Thunder game was a
Oh,
bad
we got to
loss.
talk about that. Yeah.
The Thunder are not good, and Lou Dort looked like Steph Curry against us. It was, it's we didn't we knew we had the Hornets the next night, so we don't have Kemba that game, we don't have Brown that game. Like we're trying to rest guys that we know that we need for this important game against the Hornets, but still, it's the Thunder. Like it's a very winnable game. This is a team that Al Horford is protesting.
No, this team wants to lose. We are the only team that they have beaten since March. Like this is a loss that doesn't even make any sense. But I guess when you do actually watch the game, you do kind of see it. Like we come out with the most mediocre kind of effort. Like there's no way that we're going to be any kind of NBA team playing with the kind of effort that we came out with. So that's number one. And then on top of that, Lou Dort. I mean, talk about if this guy can play, we all know this guy can play defense, but if he can score 24 points a game, if he could shoot 13 free throws in a game and make 11 of them, if he can go 3 for 8 from downtown, then he's a completely different player. And I think that we look at this Thunder team, it's exactly the kind of team that you don't want to underestimate just because, the record is terrible and they're trying to lose. I mean, Pokachevsky, this kid, 7 feet tall, this seems like maybe the next unicorn, maybe the next big thing, can kind of do it all. When you actually look at the game for what it is, when you look at the energy that we came out with, it kind of starts to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I'm glad that we came out the next night with some urgency, because after the embarrassing Hornets loss, it's like, all right, you got to get your shit together. You got to come out and you got to get a win. Yeah. And I think in that game we fell to the 7th seed. Like I think that was like the consequence, and that's just like it's even LeBron is out here saying like, who came up with this playing game? Like it becomes very real when you're sitting in the 7 and 8 seed. Thank God we beat the Hornets, because otherwise we lose that tiebreaker against them. We kind of it was a single digit game, but we kind of had them like we kept them off for the whole game. Like I remember for that game, we didn't do what we always do, which is we didn't make it a very close game right at the end of the stretch. We kept our lead, and we actually expanded it toward the end of the game, which is very promising, what you want to see after a loss to a team like the Thunder. We love to let teams back into the game, and so not doing it against the Hornets, that was big.
No, I mean, we did to them what they did to us in the prior game, which is like we just kept their runs to like a very short amount of time, where we kind of extinguished any kind of fire that started to come within them. I mean, we kind of like had a game where it was kind of frustrating against the Hornets in the loss, where we were kind of making runs, kind of getting back at it, but they just always had an answer. I feel like in a lot of ways, that's what we did to them. And you're right. It's kind of huge. Like every game against an Eastern Conference team, it just holds so much weight right now. I think we have a series, like we have like 2 games against the Heat coming up. Stuff like that, it has like such big playoff implications. Like we have to kind of come correct with any of these Eastern Conference teams. So it's a weird big win. It's like we're beating the Hornets, but for some reason that just feels like, that's actually pretty big. It's more of a game that you just can't lose than one that you're excited to win, I guess. If that's the best way to explain it.
My friend Tim O'Sullivan used to love to say that it's tonight a can't lose or a must win. There's a very distinct difference.
No, for sure.
That's definitely a can't lose, because again, that's the tiebreaker that we need over these Hornets. Very important playoff implications. It sparked some hope that was dashed for me personally in the first half of the Spurs game, and then all of a sudden we come all the way back. Now that game was entirely on Tatum's shoulders. Like we played bad otherwise, but him just like ascending and being immaculate was a sight to see. Never or shouldn't be forgotten. You love the image of him and Deuce after the game celebrating on the court. Everyone was talking about that too. That kid is one of the cutest kids in the history of the NBA. He's got to be. There have been a lot, but Deuce Tatum is popular.
For sure. On a second episode, we had to talk about the Deuce being over the Steph's kid. Like, come
Yeah,
on, Riley Curry,
yeah,
come on, move over. It's
please.
Deuce
Who?
time. It's Deuce time. All right, like
Yeah,
Deuce is the new kid on the block for sure. Just a quick note about some of these tough losses, though. It's listen. We both love Marcus Smart. We're the two founders of the Marcus Smart fan club for sure. But the thing is like it's kind of like a similar thing with Westbrook, where you just want them to take a little bit less shots. It's the weird, like, I gotta prove myself shots. It's the forced ones. It's the low percentage ones that make you question whether or not you could really trust them to be a primary shot taker in the league. And that's the thing, that Smart is never going to be that kind of guy. But in moments, it seems like he really believes that he is. And if you could just kind of minimize that to, just get it to like where he's taking 7, 8 shots a game, that's going to be huge for us. Just if he's focusing on being a primary playmaker. And that's the patterns that you see within these losses is like Marcus Smart 3 for 17. It's like, it's his paw prints are on all of them. So that's more of what we've seen from like later games or games that are more recent where like he's kind of starting to dial it down a little bit. And I think it's benefiting us.
definitely. He like has had to be a shooting guard all season just because we've had so many injuries. We've had just like so many guys go down, and all these also were just so inexperienced that he's had to step up. And he can't be our shooting guard. Like he can be a point guard. He's
For
pretty good
sure.
at distributing. He's pretty good at like running the offense. But as a shooting guard, when he comes up the floor and takes a three before anyone is set, like that's always just the worst possession of the
Yeah.
game. We took a loss to the Trailblazers this week. I won't get on, like I said last time, I'm a huge Trailblazers fan. I won't get all on their fan wagon this time because we lost to them. But it's always entertaining to see two good teams play each other, and that was an entertaining game. And hopefully, I don't know. We were playing pretty well against the Western Conference until we said we were, and then all of a
That's
sudden
true.
we lose to the Thunder, we lose to the Blazers.
I mean, well, the thing about the Blazers game, it's not like it was a close game. It was a good intensity game, and I think a big turning point was the Marcus Smart ejection. Um,
Yes.
I just gotta say, man, I really don't understand why people look down on players having to complain about the refs. They're bad. They're
Yeah.
literally bad. It's like building a house and having someone just come knock down the bricks every single time, like you just make any kind of progress. People are getting on like Luka Doncic's case, like, oh, he complains too much. Like, yeah, the guy can't get a call. Like, I don't understand how like we're going to sympathize with the referees. That it's a hard job, and that's why we're going to say like, how can you complain this much on the court? It's infuriating, and this is just another example of just like how ridiculous this is. Like, they can change the outcome of the game. They can fuck up your night. Like, they have that power, and they use that and abuse that every night. I just don't understand it.
I can't see how they watch the replay forever and they're like, okay, here's Marcus Smart, turns around and there is just a 7 foot guy like knocking him over. And they think that he had the presence of mind to be like, let me just like slug this
Jimmy
guy in the
Tappan.
nuts. Just like I'm getting plowed over right now. And like my like his arm was going there. Like it wasn't like he was like 10 feet away and he reached over. He's mid stride. It doesn't, and it's one thing if you're like, oh, he got him. Like that's a flagrant. That's whatever.
Yep.
But they tossed him. Like think about what it takes for guys to get tossed. Like that was, it's just insane. And he keeps getting suspended and fined for arguing with the refs, but someone's got to do it because it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they're garbage. And the thing is like, if it's like that unintentional handball rule in soccer. It's like, you're right. The complete flow of the hands, like everything. It's just like, use your brain for 2 seconds. And if that's like something that results in a personal foul, results in a technical foul, it's so much less of a deal than like you're dejected, you can't play for the rest of the game. I mean, it's like you're trying to come out here and affect the game. It's like you're trying to play a factor that you're not supposed to be. And that's where I'm going to end this reference, because I can go on all night.
Well, wait. But there was also, that was right before or after the Tristan Thompson putback that was clearly a putback. They called a goaltend, and we tried to challenge it, and they were like, oh, you can't challenge it because like the ball was put into play and you have to call a timeout before it. the refs hated us that night.
I mean, they
That's
hate
just
us most nights.
yeah.
People think we're annoying when we complain, but it's like, just watch the game. And like Marcus Smart, perfect example. Like that guy, I'm sure the refs talk crap about him all the time. They hate him. They hate him because, like you said, he in some way kind of holds them accountable. And I just don't like the fact that it's like siding with the refs. It's like siding with the GM. It's like saying like Jerry Krause and Aaron Rodgers has no right to complain. Like it's like who you're siding with. Like I don't. It's insane to me. But yeah, we'll end it there in terms of complaining about the refs and such. I just think that that's why I look at this game and say it was kind of crazy, kind of chaotic. I think we beat them 5 times at least out of 10. Like I think like it's a great matchup. I'm not thinking that we can't beat a Blaze. Like if we had to face the Blazers in a 7-game series, like I'd give us the chance to win.
Yeah, definitely. And that was right before this Magic game, which we've been killing the Magic all year. Like especially with Vucevic being gone,
Yeah, that we
it's
can do.
always it's always so great when you get like a 20-point lead in the third quarter and you're like, just keep this up. We're getting Taco, we're getting Carson, and that's exactly what we got. We kept the foot on the gas the whole game. It was never really that close. I think that they got it down like to like 10 points in the second quarter, but we just ran away with this one, and rightfully so, because they traded away all their good players. Like you got Fournier on our team, you got Aaron
Yeah.
Gordon on the Nuggets, Vucevic on the Bulls. Like they got nothing left. Fultz is hurt, so that's what you have to expect. And I think definitely the highlight of the game is Taco Fall bringing out the Kyrie handles and just faking out Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba is not good. Like, sorry, but
I don't know. I've seen some flashes from him in the past. I've actually
flashes
been.
is all you get. Like, he's not
I've.
consistent.
I mean, yeah, but he's young. Against like a team like the Celtics, a higher caliber or at least middle playoff team like Mo Bamba is not going to look great. Neither is anyone on the Magic. It's funny that you do say that. Yeah, we have Fournier now, who has been killing it lately. I think we owe him a little bit of an apology, or at least it seems like he's getting over his COVID case, which he said was not great. Um, but yeah, this is like one of those Magic games that it's like check it off the box. My biggest no on the game, and it's gonna sound ridiculous, is I think we gotta start treating Taco Fall with a little more respect. Like, listen, it's funny, like you see him out there, like, but and I love that the bench is celebrating, but like, come on, he's a player, right? At this point, he's a pro. I think he's proven himself to be like not just some kind of novelty. It's not just that he's tall. It's that maybe he can actually be effective. They can't be dancing every time he does something. Or they can't. We can't be like At some point, we have to give the guy the respect and to say like, yeah, we expect you to pull out that move, or we expect you to do well in the court when you're given a chance. I think that's the next step for Taco's career.
I mean, 4 blocks in 5 minutes. It's nothing to laugh about. Like he's a
For sure.
legit interior defender. Like when we need stops, we need to cut off their access to the rim. He should be going in the
He's a
game. I
mix-up.
stand by that. When there was time when we were just like COVID scavenged and we needed to play him, I didn't hate the minutes he gave us, and I wouldn't hate giving him more minutes in the future, especially like I don't know, against Embiid, against like the big men that we always have trouble guarding. Like you can just take away the rim for a few minutes and maybe he gets exposed during long stretches. But again, 4 blocks in 5 minutes, like he has a huge defensive impact.
Yeah, I think I see it being really more effective against like smaller teams that have rim runners that try to keep the ball moving. Just because any cut to the basket is going to be met by Taco. Can he be one-on-one defending guys like Sabonis or stronger centers like in the Eastern Conference? Like, I think that there's certain nights you might get diced up, but certainly against the Magic, certainly against like I don't know teams like the Golden State Warriors. Like I think he can do a lot of things. I don't know. That it didn't irk me, but it was a note that I had
Yeah.
that I think that as Taco starts to prove himself more and more, this guy just ain't a novelty. Like he's a real guy in our future, right? Like you pick 2 centers on this team to keep for the future. It's probably him and Robert Williams.
Yeah, no, I agree. Robert Williams again has also been showing out. I'm wondering, like, it's crazy to think there's only 6 games left, but we have 6 games before we try and make a playoff run. We have to try and climb the seeding a little bit before we make the playoffs. But do you try and rest like Kemba Brown, Rob Williams before we try and make a deep playoff run, or do you think that we need them now?
I mean, I think that like chasing a seed at this point, like I would like to build some momentum. So winning the games would be nice. But I think that we are this team, the identity is lacking. The players themselves know who they are and they know who the
Mhm.
guy beside them are. Like we don't maybe show like some great identity on the court because we haven't been as consistent. But at the end of the day, Kemba, Tatum, Brown, Smart, these guys know who each other are. And the guys that might not know, like Fournier, are capable players. So for me, like I don't really like care really if we get into that 4 or 5, that would be great to face like the Knicks, or like the Hawks would definitely be more optimal. But I think I will just want the guys to be healthy. I want them to have some kind of wind underneath them going into the playoffs, especially Tatum. So I think I'm gonna kind of punt. I think I'm punting. I think it's okay. I want to win, but I don't think it's a big deal either way.
Well, we have in the 6 games left, 3 of them are against the Bulls, Cavs, and Timberwolves. 3 of them are against the Heat, and Knicks. I'd
We do
say
need
the
to beat the
Heat,
Heat. We do need to beat the Heat.
the Heat,
We gotta
Heat
stay
and
at
Knicks, we
the
have to
playing
win
game.
all those games. Yeah, we have to stay out of the
Yeah,
playing game. So Heat, and Knicks, we got to play these guys. But I'd say that I'm comfortable against the Bulls, Cavs, and Timberwolves to let
the
our
rest
guys
of.
get a little bit extra rest because it has been an extremely compact season, especially at the end of the season. The last 2 games are makeup games, and yeah, I hope that we can just go into the playoffs or the playing games with guys that are fresh and ready to go. Because Kemba was limping out there toward the end.
Yeah.
Jalen Brown was nowhere to be seen. Um, and you got Fournier and Tatum still trying to come back from COVID. We need these guys to be ready because hopefully it's going to be a deep playoff run. Robert Williams, like again, he missed like those 7 games, and we were like 1-6. Like he needs to be playing every single playoff game. He has a huge impact on us, and we can't be going out there with just. I love Luke Cornett, huge fan of him. It was actually hilarious to see us playing Mo Wagner and
Oh my
seeing him
gosh.
try to like have a little revenge game and us just
Hey,
bullying
he
him.
played well.
He played well. No, he did. I feel like he always kind of like was a little bit of a thorn in our side, and now we've just given him so much more like to go off of because we got him and then just cut him immediately.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's his own fault. Just before I leave though, I gotta ask, like what is your opinion like on the playing game? Because I feel like I've heard maybe the most mixed reviews out of like any move that the NBA's made. I think everyone was kind of behind like the all-star changes. A lot of people are behind like I don't know, having the bubble, like certain decisions like this. But the playing game is so highly contested, and from person to person, you're gonna get a very different answer. So love it, hate it. Like, where do you kind of stand?
I think it's a little silly that the 10 seed and the 7 seed, like those two teams are so far apart, like every year. So I think that is a little bit just like in the concept of it a problem.
Yep.
But I kind of love it. I wish that we weren't in the playing game, but I love it. I just love basketball. I love just like this one and done action. I like how like if you're the 7 seed, you get double elimination. Like if you lose, you get to play the team that loses in the 8-9 matchup. So I like that. There's a little bit of a safety net if you're a higher seed that you don't just like lose and you're out of the playoffs. You get to play 2 games. And I know that they're just playing for the right to lose in the first round if you're the 8 seed, but like again, like what do we got going on? I'm gonna watch basketball or I'm gonna watch YouTube. Like, let me watch some playoff basketball. I'll take it.
Yeah. The two arguments to be made is one, like, if you cannot deny that people are paying so much more attention to the end of the season than we have ever before. This is usually
Yep.
when people just completely tune out. But instead, people are kind of interested. Their games against, like, we haven't cared about 2 games in the last week of the season against Miami, probably in a decade. I don't know how long it's been. But now, all of a sudden, that last week, those 3 games against the Heat and Knicks, that actually means a lot. We're gonna be paying attention, and I think that's a good thing. And the other thing is like, dude, if like, yes, it's like maybe you're saying most cases it's just you're gonna play just to lose the first seed, but I think in certain cases you look at like maybe the Jazz or the Suns out in the West, a little unproven. Like, do they want to play the Mavs? Do they want to play a team like that in the first rounds? Like, it's certainly like a hindrance. Um, I just think it needs to be tweaked a little bit. Like you said, the 7 and 10 seed is so far apart. I think maybe that the 9 and 10 seed play one game against each other, and then they go and face the 8th seed, and the 8th seed has to win one game. Maybe
That'd
they'll
be a
just
lot better. That's a
it's
lot better.
something like that. But yeah, we have a lot of teams scared to get the 7th seed right now. It's just a complete misfortune to have that, and that part of it, I think it's a little overboard. I think the 7th seed should be safe in this instance.
It's annoying that like the whole Wizards can stink all year, and then all of a sudden they figure it out and get hot at the end, and they're just going to steal a playoff spot from someone. Like I guess that's the idea. Like give teams a reason to not just be tanking, but like they are legitimately a threat. Like Russell Westbrook, love him or
the
hate
Wizards
him, has been dealing.
That's another team. Like, do we want to have to face the Wizards?
They're a lot and all
a lot hungrier.
The 9 and 10 seed are much hungrier than the Celtics are for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We feel like we go out there every time like we've already earned it, and yeah, it's going to be troubling if we have to play a playing game and we feel like we don't deserve to play in, and Tatum and Brown are too good for it, and we just go out there and be lazy.
It's probably like the way that this season's supposed to end is honestly losing to the Wizards twice. It would be kind of the fitting end, but hopefully, like, we just got to get that first round opponent. I'm ready to face anyone in front of us.
Definitely. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this week on Double Take Celtics. You can subscribe on iTunes at Celtics Double Take, or go find Double Take on YouTube. For extra credit, follow at the Double Take Show on Instagram. James, you got any last words?
Like I said last show, I'm going to keep on saying it. I'm going to keep on saying it as long as we keep doing well. I'm going to say it, top of the league, baby. Sox, top of the league. Come on. All right. Like, I'm just saying that we might have been wrong about Heimblum. We might have just jumped the gun a little bit. Let's all just enjoy where we are in Boston sports. And hey, what happens to the Celtics is gravy.
If the Red Sox are out here in first place, the Celtics are going to be looking like they're lacking. Tatum and Brown got something to prove. That's so true. Let's create some competition between these Boston sports. I love it. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep.